Hello, everybody, and welcome to Vegas. And as you can see, we have quite the grid for you tonight. 13 drivers, meaning points are going to be pretty much going to the entire grid tonight. If you can keep it on track and keep it out of the wall, let's go and meet our drivers for the night. Lucid Cardiac's Lucid, Vivoda is Vivoda, Cloud City is Cloud, Anime Boy is Anime, MK7 Hitch is Hitch, YSL Buddha is Buddha, Mini Squatch is Squatch, Final Flame is Flame, Mel Gibson is Mel, Goat Lee is Goat, The Yuppie is Yuppie, Dismal Games is Dismal, and Kryptonic Swag is Kryptonic. Now, we'll see who's getting out first. Looks to be a Ferrari. We'll just guess that it's Yuppie. I don't think it is. And that is Vivoda. First car out. This, I think, is the second street circuit on the calendar. Fans have quite mixed opinions on the track itself, but in real life, the racing that Vegas has provided has been pretty good. We will see, however, in 2026, DRS is being removed, so those gigantic straights shouldn't have as big of an impact since the DRS will not be able to be opened. And I think, I could be wrong, the new X and Y modes that are replacing DRS should be able to be enabled at any time. So, every driver is going to have maybe a different X and Y mode relating to their setup. But I mean, everyone's going to be able to enable it, so it doesn't necessarily matter. I think all the drivers are going to get the hang of when to toggle it, or if they need to, or whatever they want to do. Maybe a little bit of strategy coming out, but all these teams have world-class strategists and engineers that are going to be able to nail down the strategy, and it'll probably be quite similar to everyone else. But here we go. In Can-Am, we still have the DRS. We are not in 2026 yet. And it should be an interesting transition into next season, honestly, with the new team being Cadillac F1 coming in. So we will have 22 cars on the grid. And just with all the new regulations, it should be quite interesting in real life, just as it is in the game. We hear some crunching of drivers maybe hitting the wall behind Vivoda. Coach has joined, so we get another driver here. Don't know if he'll be able to pick his team or not, but we'll see what team he gets signed up for. I'm honestly not too sure how that works. We should see his name pop up on the left. Vivoda with purple sectors. He's the first driver going through the track. Mercedes gets out of the way for him to come through, finish up his lap through Sector 3. And the time to beat is going to be a 32.6. Lucid starting lap right behind him. Cloud just through Sector 1. Everyone else on an out lap. Kryptonic goes a 32.0, besting Vivoda by about 6 tenths. So that was the kick we were seeing behind. Cloud should be the next driver across. We'll see what he can do. Looks to be a purple sector too, but we never know if those are true or not. And there's our 14 drivers on the grid. Where did Coach? He did come in as an Alpine, so on the correct team. Again, don't know how that selection works mid-race, but worked out. Cloud coming to the line. Oh, best time by a full second, and now that is definitely the time to beat. See what his teammate can do. I think was behind him on a hot lap. We'll obviously be watching the timing charts. Through Sector 3 goes Dismal. Down another straight. Pretty much the entire Vegas track. And he goes a 32-1, which is fourth for now. Lucid a 31-5, splitting the difference between Kryptonic and Cloud. Hitch down into the pits. Buddha back on the grid after a couple weeks of missing. Be interesting to see what he can do. Looks like this lap something must have happened. He's quite off the pace there. Mel through Sector 1. Goat is spinning on inters. And Yuppie coming across the line. It's a 35-2. So something must have happened on his lap. On board with Anime. We might go try to find someone who has yet to run a lap and maybe stick on board with them just to see a lap from the driver POV. But Anime coming to the line. It's going to be a 33-4, which is good enough for 6, just above Yuppie. Both probably made some mistakes in their lap. Mel a 57. If I remember correctly, Cloud was through here in a 55. So might be a couple seconds off here. Not sure yet. Squatch in front of him on an outlap. Mel coming down the final straight into this final left-hander, and it is a 32-9. Almost 2 seconds behind Cloud, which is what I kind of envisioned from that Sector 2 time. We'll just ride on board with Squatch here, going through his lap in Vegas. And this is what a lap feels like around this track. Still a newer circuit. Blind corner here, a little bit of a chicane. And now a left that doesn't look as tight as it really is. It looks like it's really open and you have tons of space, but then it really sharpens up and turns in. This one, the braking point is easy to miss, which I think is going to be a challenge for these drivers. Can they consistently hit all their braking points over the course of 25 laps? Not getting distracted by everything else and maybe just zoning out for a quick second. As none of these drivers have the racing line on, are using either marks on the track or the braking boards, which are on the catch fences. Squatch is sprinting to the line. Looks like it's going to be in the 32s. It's a 32.6, good enough for 5th. Only ahead of Voda by a couple hundredths and 5/10 off Dismal in front. Hitch getting through Sector 1 in a purple sector time. See what he can do. In the Alpine, he has been on the front row pretty much every single race. I'm not sure if he was front row in Monza last week. I know he was not in Brazil. An odd sight to see Hitch not in the first couple rows on the grid. But we will see what he can do here and if he can put himself in a position where he can be in the front. And I think, honestly, the DRS train is critical here. So even leading the train is fine as long as you don't get cut off from DRS. You should be all right. Because the 31.08, which is good enough for second, only 500ths behind. We've able to jump Squatch, improving about 3/10, but only jumping one spot. 2.5 more tenths to go until he sees Dismal, a 58.1 through Sector 2. Not necessarily ideal. About 3 seconds off the pole Sector 2, or the provisional pole Sector 2. So Buddha coming to the line. It's not going to be the best lap here. 134.1, 10th. See Coach, I think, coming out of the garage. Everyone else, almost everyone set a lap time now. Yep, he looks to be going for another lap. Match to Sector 1, maybe only about a 10th up. Now let's see what he can do through Sector 2. As Lucid goes pole with a 130.8. It's a 57.0. 2 seconds faster than his 135. But he was definitely hoping to see that improvement. 2 seconds off would see him up a couple spots, but he'll be hoping for a 32 low or possibly slotting into the 31s, which would get him up all the way into 4th. See if he can do that here. Coming to the line, it's going to be a 32 mid with a 6.78, only a couple hundredths behind Squatch, and now Squatch in a Ferrari sandwich here. Flame starting a lap as we see someone jump up. I think that's Dismal. 31.2, jumping into 4th, jumping above Kryptonic. And Kryptonic definitely has a better lap time there. We've seen the pace from him this season. 32.0, that will likely improve into the 31s, but it needs to be a very low 31 as we have quite the gap between 4th and 5th right now. And Flame invalidates his lap going into Sector 3, so he'll be pitting and going again. As you see him pull to the inside and drive it into the pits. Coach starting his lap in Sector 1. See what he can do. And looks to go a little wide there. And now off the track, but keeps it valid, and maybe just abort this lap, try another one. We'll see if he continues on. This would be his first lap time, so time an issue for Coach, as he doesn't necessarily have time to set a banker lap just to get some insurance. It's kind of now or never, diving into the pits and then trying to get out for another lap. He might have to pit this lap, so might not want to do that, as Lucid has retired from the session with a 30.8. We'll see if that holds. As Coach invalidates in the same spot that Flame did. And Cloud going to try and Best Lucid, who the time to beat is going to be that 30.8 unless someone else improves. That time will remain. Lucid retiring, so cannot improve his time. Cloud not on a fast lap. Is Goat on a fast lap? No. Goat still on the inters. And now disqualified. So Goat starting in last. Not sure what that's all about necessarily, but that's what happened. Couldn't explain it to you, but we got to witness a little bit of that. Here goes Voda on what will likely be his last flying lap here in Vegas, and like I said, a good opportunity for everyone to get in the points. Only 14 drivers here, so an increased chance for points, and now Vivoda completely off the track, and that will invalidate him. See if he can slow it down and get the car back up for one more lap. Mel invalidated as well. Must have been one of the first turns. Anime through Sector 1 here, and Cloud pits. He's not going to be able to get back out, and he's just going to have to retire and call that a session. Anime through Sector 2. Going into the long Sector 3, which is mostly just straights and a chicane. Missing that corner a little bit and smacking the wall. 5/10 up, but that might cost him a wing and any chance of improvements there. Coach on an out lap. Flame, everyone just kind of queuing up, waiting to start their laps. I think Squatch is one of the few people actually starting his lap. Yuppie and Vivoda and Yuppie both behind, so both the Ferraris. Everyone's starting laps and going for a time here. Squatch down 2/10. It's around the time he probably needs for gaining another place in qualifying. Looks to be tidy through there and a little slower, but getting the exit out of that corner. He's going to need 3/10 for Vivoda and 6/10. Anything higher. Missing that inside curb. I don't know if that's an actual strategy or not, but you used to be able to just fly over that inside curb and just you wanted to take out as much of the corner as you could without being disqualified. Qualifying session has been done, and Squatch will be the first driver across the line. We love hearing the engine just revving in 8th. Keeps it valid. He'll come across the line, then we'll see Vivoda. Squatch across the line in P6, flipping spots with Vivoda. Vivoda doesn't seem to be able to improve. No, it's a 30. He did not slow down and give his teammate a tow. So Yuppie coming across the line needs to drop 5/10. We didn't see how he was doing on this lap. And he's able to drop 3/10, just enough to pass his teammate. Who is next? I think the Williams, and Buddha is going to pit. Flame into P11. Kryptonic goes pole by 4/10, and Mel goes P6 with a 32.0. Dismal into the pits, invalidated his lap, but Hitch, the last to cross the line, and he snatches pole by only 18/100ths. Coach comes across the line and stays where he was, just above Goat, who is disqualified. But Hitch, once again, with one of the final laps of the session, takes provisional pole, takes actual pole, with a 130.780. Just besting Kryptonic with a 130.7, I think 780, so 7998. And the top three all within a tenth. And then we still have that major drop off. So we have the top five, which are all within a half second. The McLaren duo missing the podium in qualifying. And then 1.2 seconds, about 7/10 down, is Mel squatched behind him. And we don't even have to scroll for the session. There's all your drivers. You can see them all. Some drivers not getting the best time or not getting multiple times due to some invalidations, just not having a banker set. So some drivers a little bit behind in this qualifying session, but we can definitely expect some good racing here, and the DRS is open for almost a majority of the laps. So should see drivers be able to stay in that train, but if the train is broken, I have a feeling that whoever is able to break it is going to run away with this. So we can get started here probably pretty quick. All right, so let's go over some of the storylines here. Last week, Kryptonic was able to bring home the win in Monza, and the big story, Hitch P5. So Kryptonic making up some of the gap here in the championship. Cloud was P2, and Fawn, in his first full-time race for Aston Martin this season, was third. And Yuppie in P4, some season best results. And then in the standings, I wish it would be easier to have a visualization up on the screen. Hitch is in first with 162, then Kryptonic with 115. So we've got about a 47-point gap between those two, and then Cloud is another 22 points behind Kryptonic. Heatley is another 17 points behind. 10 points behind is Goat, and 13 points behind is Dismal, who is 21 points ahead of Lucid. So the Drivers' Championship quite divided by quite a bit, at least for those top 8. Then the Constructors, Alpine in first with 162. McLaren in second with 146, hanging around right there, and Kick in third, 117. Aston Martin has 95 in fourth. Red Bull is fifth with 76. Mercedes 6th with 54. Haas 7th with 45. Ferrari 8th with 35. Racing Bulls with 17 and 9th. And Williams still without a point, and their best chance to score is going to be today. One of them already in the points position, and a couple DNFs later, and they could be scoring just a couple points to remove that goose egg from the Constructors, but we will see how they fare. Every single driver starting on the mediums, so not much going there. And we are pretty much ready to get this underway. The two championship contenders here in first and second, so it'll be interesting to see them get after it here. we'll see what happens. So there's been plenty of drama on a couple races, and nothing is out of reach here. Nothing's off the table. We could see some crazy things as the drivers get lined up. And we are ready to go as we see the Aston Martin Goat all the way in the back, curling around the final corner. We are underway here in Vegas. Goat already up a spot towards the back. Couple people. Anime with a bad start. And there we see a McLaren snapping. A little bit of contact on Kryptonic, who's up through the inside. We do have a caution in Sector 1. But Hitch does continue to keep the lead. And we've got quite the gap here as Squatch is up to P4, up 3 spots. Goat up 7 spots off the start. A generational start in last, and now Dismal gets plastered into the wall. Not sure what happened or who contacted him, but now Lucid down in 13th, down 10 spots with Goat, who had the generational start and is all the way at the bottom. Dismal down 7 spots as well. Yuppie and Flame flipping positions here, staying almost side by side, and there we can see the dust settle from the top drivers as we've got a bunch of drivers in the green, and then towards the bottom a bunch of drivers in the red as it looks like Coach locks up and avoids contact there with Yuppie in front. Vivoda behind this train, Anime in 11th, and you've got the Dismal, Lucid, and Goat all the way at the back of the grid. Up at the front, Kryptonic and Hitch running away, still with DRS here, as Squatch does get by Cloud. No DRS on the first lap, so impressive to get that move done and maybe continue and try and keep this DRS, but not sure if he's going to be able to catch the top 2 as Hitch sets the fastest lap, leading this Grand Prix around the first lap of Vegas. Melon P5 also up a spot, and Buddha doing well up into 6th place, up 6 spots here, but without DRS, which is going to be critical through this lap. Kryptonic has the DRS up front, and behind him, Squatch holding in 3rd, but losing some time. Cloud not able to get the move done, and these 3 are in the DRS of each other, but Buddha now, we've got a couple disconnects in the big GRS train. Lucid and Goat off as well, and we do see Buddha go off the track, and he gets a 10-second corner cutting penalty. That is killer, missing his braking point, and that is going to be the key. Racing line would be so nice to have on here in Vegas. It is so hard to determine your braking point, especially after such a long straight, and then choosing when exactly to brake. It is a tough thing. We're probably going to see Cloud get the move done on Squatch, and he is obviously not going to fight this one. Happy to stay alongside in 4th. Mel happy to be behind and stay in that DRS. Buddha still ahead. Yuppie maybe going for a move here. Is he going to be able to look down the inside and find it towards the end of this straight? This is literally the longest straight on the calendar and maybe goes in a little deep, but Buddha not able to get any kind of switchback, and Flame has a little bit of a moment, but here comes Buddha without the DRS, just powering through. Now side by side, going through the final corner, into turn 1 we go. Buddha later on the brakes and does get the move to stick. Good on him for battling this position out. Yuppie downshifting into this corner, and it looks like he's not going to get the best of exits. We do have a caution, and Flame off the track here as Anime is into the pits. The top 2 still fighting, and Cloud drifting further and further behind. These 3 still within DRS of everyone, of each other. Cloud, Squatch, and Mel all third and fifth. Buddha, another 10-second time penalty, and his engineer is going to be warning him about a disqualification already. You can see the Ferraris behind him in the distance, but 20 seconds of penalties basically means that he is net P13 right now, which is not exactly where you want to be. Ferrari getting close behind him here, and Yuppie likely going to make a move, and hopefully will be able to make it stick as Lucid gets by Coach, and Dismal has fought his way back into ninth. You can see him back in the distance there. Buddha going to make Yuppie go the long way here as we do see a battle for the lead up at the front. Hitch hangs onto it for now. Back to Buddha and the two Ferraris as Buddha down the inside and creates that contact a little bit. Gets the worst end of the stick and is down to 8th as both Ferraris get by, and now he goes into the pits here and should be able to serve one of those 10-second time penalties while he's in there. We can see if he does not choose to serve it. He retires into the pits on lap 4, an unlucky start to the race, and thinks there's no point to continue going. So Buddha is the first driver out. You see these three battling here. Cloud now 3 seconds off Kryptonic, and it is going to be hard for any of these drivers to catch up to the top two. They've just had the pace all year, and yeah, they are showing that once again, and blast off and away they go into the top two here. Very, very close to each other as they're coming through Sector 2. Is Kryptonic going to be able to make a move here? Getting closer and closer, and he does go to the outside, now not gaining as much, but activates that DRS, and now you can see how much power that gives him, and he is able to clear Hitch into first, but now struggling through that corner, and Hitch gets ran into the wall and I think is missing an end plate from that contact. Hitch ran a little wide into the wall, and it looks to me like he is missing that right end plate on his car, and that's going to hurt him through the corners. It's a black wing, and it's kind of hard to tell, but obviously you can see through that corner he's struggling to keep up, and now this might invite Cloud back into the DRS as other drivers might start to fight away for these positions as Hitch dives down and now forces Kryptonic into the wall a little bit. Is maybe thinking there's a bit of your payback for the contact caused earlier, and this is quite the feisty battle here, and as you can see the gap now, Cloud within a second and a half, and he is going to be right on the heels of these top two. Mel has completely fallen off. He's 3 seconds behind, but Yuppie's still 3 seconds behind him. So those drivers very lonely, driving their own race. Yuppie giving a little bit of his toe to his teammate who has to fend off Lucid, Dismal, and Goat. All drivers who probably shouldn't be as far as they are down. And we will see what happens to this. We'll see what comes of the DRS train, but it is very interesting up at the front as well to see if Hitch is able to keep battling or not. Pretty sure he is without that end plate. Hard to tell, but yeah, after seeing that, I mean, it's pretty definitive in my eyes that he's missing some downforce, and we'll get a good shot of it here, and yeah, it definitely appears to be gone. But he's held first, and as long as you have the straight line here, I don't think downforce is a big concern as Goat gets by Dismal, and you can see this train. Coach in the distance, looking to catch up, looking to pounce on if someone fights a little too hard or makes a mistake, but everyone towards the top. Still green. Mel driving his own race. Now 5 seconds back from Squatch. I mean, you can see how well that DRS is bringing these drivers through and just building gaps, building huge gaps. This is only lap 6. I mean, we could see the entire field getting lapped at this rate for losing almost a second a lap. I mean, this is going to be extremely spaced out, and we see Vivoda giving up a couple spots, and now Yuppie driving away, but without the DRS is definitely going to be losing some time and might be even under attack. It looks like Lucid doesn't have the DRS. But Vivoda and Dismal side by side. Vivoda choosing the inside and slots in behind Dismal. Dismal up into P9, keeping pace with Goat in front of him. And Lucid now right behind Yuppie as Squatch gets by Cloud, and now all of a sudden that gap that they had down to 1.5 seconds is now 2.5 seconds as the front two have picked it up again. We'll see if any battles up there can help the bottom, or not the bottom, but Squatch and Cloud to catch up, as we do have a caution. It looks to be Flame once again. Sideways and something happening there. Squatch tried to maybe blitz Cloud and get out of that DRS, had it to 9/10, but Cloud has worked his way back into 6/10, and Mel is just seeing them far in the distance as he is 5.5 seconds behind. The top two looking to battle a little bit, and we'll see. Hitch should have the DRS here. He does get it open. Now he's got to figure out what side to go. He goes to the outside. And Kryptonic earlier on the brakes, maybe looking for a switchback, but nothing coming from that. As Cloud right on the back of Squatch. We've got some battling here, and there goes Yuppie. Right off your screen as he does get rear-ended by Lucid, as we do see that. Caught the onboard of that incident. So Yuppie will have some work to do after he got sent off. And shouldn't have any damage, thankfully, but now Coach is within DRS and may be able to fight a little bit, as he now has a surprise guest back fighting for 10th place. Goat all the way up to 6th has cleared everyone, is now a 2.5 off Mel. But then the real climb begins, because after Mel, Cloud 6 seconds up the road, you can just see Mel starting to come across that, starting the straight all the way in the back. And we'll see if Goat can get by Mel and if he can start the charge, as he's already 7/10 behind. Bringing the train behind him. So a couple drivers will be attacking Mel, and we see 3rd and 4th swap positions, playing a little bit more friendly than Kryptonic and Hitch are. Kryptonic right behind, following as Hitch goes maybe a little too deep, and Mel already getting passed down the main straight. Kryptonic right behind, and now boxes quite early here. Everyone else staying out. We'll see if anyone in this train decides to pit and follow Kryptonic. Mel does so. We start lap 9. A couple drivers are pitting. Let's see what tires they are putting on. The hard tires for Kryptonic, and I assume the hard tires will be going on for Mel. That is right. So we'll see how long Hitch can make these tires last. I'm sure he doesn't want to overcut. We should see him into the pits, I would assume, this lap. Yeah, you can see a good shot of that end plate just completely gone. We'll see if he repairs his wing or not. That's going to be quite the story. That's going to cost him 4 or 5 seconds, and that'll likely cost him 2 positions for right now. And without DRS, it's going to be almost a lost cause. So doing what he can strategy-wise and pace-wise to stay in that DRS, to stay fighting here for the lead, for the podium positions. Squatch and Cloud able to keep the gap well within the range of what a wing change would be, but that might benefit Hitch a little bit just so that he can have the DRS from them and maybe boost them up. But obviously the dirty air and the clean air this season, the dirty air definitely giving some downside to just following closely and staying in that DRS. And we'll see who decides to pit as Cloud goes in. Squatch staying out. Will Goat come in? Yes, he makes the call early. Lucid follows him. Vivoda staying out. And Dismal also out as Kryptonic now coming through. Should gain all these places back. We'll see how much time he's gained to Cloud, and we'll see if Dismal maybe plays a little bit of the team game after the rough start for Cloud. Maybe holds up Kryptonic, does his best to defend him, just holding him up a little bit so that Cloud can get within. But Cloud now 5 seconds away from Kryptonic. That was 2.5. So this might not be good news for Hitch, who isn't necessarily aware of the gap, but 5.5 seconds is lost, about 2.5 seconds, by just doing an overcut by one lap. And if he repairs his wing, I mean, that's going to be a major gap to try and catch up with Kryptonic. But maybe we could see drivers going for a one-stop strategy, whereas this early pits, I think, are indicating of a two-stop. 9 laps on the mediums. You're probably going to get about 15 laps on the hard tires. And, I mean, that's pretty close to the end, but if you don't want to push it, then you definitely might want to switch. And Hitch looking to be struggling on these tires and definitely struggling without an end plate. And he is going to declare into the pits. And we'll see if he does get that wing replaced as he pulls into the pits. Does not speed this race. That was a big issue in Monza. Cloud picks up his first penalty with a 3-second. And he does change his wing here as Kryptonic goes by. Squatch into the pits is likely going to jump him as well. And Vivoda staying out. As we can check the penalties here, just 2 seconds for Vivoda and 2 seconds for Cloud. Likely going to affect their race a little bit, but we can see the stops in Kryptonic now with the lead and is almost 7 seconds ahead of Cloud, who gained some time on Squatch, who now is without DRS, and Hitch might be able to just tow Squatch up to Cloud, and might be smart for him just to maybe say, all right, come on by, Hitch. Give me some DRS and help me to catch up to where I was after this overcut. And definitely not the preferred strategy here in the undercut. Very powerful as it is on nearly every other track. And Goat getting a lot of that gap back. Was about 7 seconds before the first stops and is now only 3 seconds away. Hitch having slowed down a little bit for this chicane behind Squatch, but Squatch probably not going to fight this move and is just going to try and keep within the DRS so that he can maybe try and catch up. Here goes Hitch through. And now Squatch will try and fend off this DRS train coming for him behind, as Goat is bringing Lucid, Mel, and Coach with him right now, but Coach still needing to stop Vivoda as well. So everyone going to gain a place here as they pass, and Vivoda will probably slot down to somewhere around 11th place. Maybe gain a spot or two. Him and Coach in, so now we are back to the real order as everyone has done their one stop, and there's your positions changed as Lucid is down 3, Hitch is down 2, but looking to fight their way back up. And there is your tire life as Kryptonic with the undercut does have the oldest hard tires, but does have a 7-second lead, which is net 10 seconds. We can throw the leader time to leader, and Hitch is now 10 seconds behind Kryptonic after that first stop, but 2-lap younger tires. So we'll see if that makes an impact down the stretch, or if Kryptonic can maybe last and try and get a one-stop strategy here. We will see what happens. Squatch looking to get within DRS, but 1.2 seconds. I don't know if he has it. Doesn't look to open up, and now he's going to be vulnerable to that train behind, and Hitch is not going to be slowing down anytime soon. So Cloud has silently worked his way up into P2, Lucid through, and Mel right behind, as Goat and Lucid are going back and forth here. Goat maybe wanting to go alongside. Does not make the move yet. Anime gets a 3-second time penalty. No move being made, and nothing from Mel, as he is just content to enjoy this battle. Maybe find an opening here or there, but he has now an 11-second gap to Vivoda, which then to Dismal is 6 seconds. So these gaps have started appearing since the strategies, since the first stops, and they are not going to be getting smaller unless you're in a rare case. So we will see how the race progresses for all these drivers, but pretty big gaps everywhere. We've got our one train. We've got Yuppie behind Dismal for P9, who is in the DRS, but 11th, 12th, and 13th driving their own races tonight. And Goat now leading this train and trying to get within striking distance to fight Squatch a little bit. We've got halfway through this race, and Kryptonic down the road, 6.5 seconds. Hitch now 3 seconds behind. And Kryptonic might be having to worry about blitzing a penalty after that contact with Hitch, forcing him wide and into the wall. Might want a 5-second cushion, or maybe even a little bit bigger, but can't imagine that the stewards will come down too hard on that contact. Lucid gets by Goat, and they're playing a little bit of leapfrog. Quite easy to do in Vegas with the long straight, and especially with DRS. But the leapfrog is getting them closer and closer to Squatch. 1.3 now. 1.1 as Mel behind goes deep and may not have a wing. Can we see? Oh my gosh, can we get another view of the car? I mean, I cannot see the wing, but he might be completely missing a wing here. No, he looks to be good. Hitting the wall straight on, now out of the DRS and slashing Vivoda's gap in half. And now Lucid well within the DRS of Squatch. And Squatch likely going to get attacked from the two drivers behind. Lucid and Goat. Might be a 2-for-1 here. Right on board with Goat. As you can see, Lucid going to the inside here. And does well to not completely outbrake himself. Let's see if Goat can do anything into the first turn. Squatch all the way to the outside. Goat down the inside here. Side by side, but Squatch maybe letting off a little bit and thinking better of fighting that move any harder than he needs to, as he'll now have DRS and hopefully be able to keep up with this little train of 3, but down into 6th for now for Squatch. The top 3 all maintaining about the same gaps. These 3 racing hard. Mel, lonely race. Vivoda, even lonelier. And Dismal with a driver to think about behind. That is Yuppie. It's on the same exact strategy and going to make Dismal sweat for these 2 points. McLaren in the Constructors looking good, as the live update would definitely have them sneaking in. As Dismal and Cloud right now are combining for 20 points to Hitch's 15. Or Alpine's 15, as I should say. Coach just out of the points by one spot, but any incident in front would result in him snagging a point here. As Hitch sets the fastest lap, and he's trying to get the position from Cloud, who does have a 3-second time penalty, and Hitch is only 2 seconds away. So that 3-second time penalty might affect finishing position here. And any 3-second time penalty between these three would basically throw them out of the running. Hitch and Goat, or not Hitch and Goat, Lucid and Goat switching positions, as they've done many times throughout all the laps. No positions have changed. I have nothing to really tell you. We're watching the only drivers really within DRS. Yuppie is also within DRS, but has not made a move on Dismal yet. Squatch now fading a bit, but he should have DRS and should be able to make up a little bit of time here. Lucid and Goat right on the back of each other. Flipping positions every lap, and practically, if you've got DRS into the last lap, I think you're better off than leading it, as that straight just catapults you. Squatch hanging on to the DRS here as we see Flame up in the distance. Going to be lapped a little bit. Unlucky for him, a couple incidents, a couple crashes, and finds himself in P13. Lots of drivers missing tonight, so hopefully they'll be back for next week. A lot of the drivers do not enjoy the racing at Vegas, and I can see why. Vegas and Monza, quite similar tracks, and just ton of straights, ton of DRS trains, but here, not really the DRS train so much as just driving straight. Everyone driving their kind of lonely race here. And just watching the gaps to see what is happening. Vavoda catching up to Mel, who is P7, in the position to score what I think would be his first points of the year. Be good to get that monkey off his back as Dismal makes the pass on Vavoda. And now both Ferraris back behind Dismal. We'll see if Vavoda can get back and see if he can contest this move, or if he might just file in behind his teammate eventually. We'll kind of see, but here's the second train of three. Mel would love to see some more battles behind him, as he's 13 seconds off Squatch for 6th. 7 laps to go. Dismal needs to make up about a half second every lap to get up to Mel, and Vavoda straight off into the wall just like Mel did, and I wonder if he has any damage. It looks like it. Yes, missing the left end plate there. So maybe, just maybe, Coach might be able to sneak up here and get in the position where he can pass Vivoda for 1 point in this Grand Prix. He's only got 7 laps to do so. He needs to make up 2 seconds a lap, and that end plate I don't think is necessarily going to cause 2 seconds of time loss, so we will see if that is possible for Coach to bridge that gap or if it's just too little too late. We'll see how much that end plate really hinders Vivoda, as we saw Hitch without it earlier. Really, the only major thing that screwed him over was just the time lost in the pit stop replacing the wing. So I doubt you see Vivoda pit, but it's just going to be how much time is he going to lose from not having that end plate. And by that far out shot, it looks like he doesn't have half a wing. Maybe it is a little damage, a little more damage than we thought. I mean, one side of the wing is completely white, and then the other side you can barely see. So maybe missing a bit more than just an end plate here for Vivoda, but still about 14 seconds even with 6 laps to go through the field. Still got these 3 battling, flipping positions, and Flame is not battling for position behind. Just a lapped car, and now Squatch going to join in on the leapfrogging. Is he going to be able to make it 2 here? Right alongside Lucid, and will he be able to nag 4th? Forced all the way to the outside, and now Goat up the inside. Definitely tight racing there, and Squatch, after nearly getting 4th, now back down into 6th, but still within this train. Still battling and thinking about going down the inside. Not later on the brakes, and now Mel and Dismal, they're racing behind, and Yuppie behind them. So it just seems like this race has trios going in it. Mel 14 seconds behind Squatch and Lucid 10 seconds behind, but they're leading their little mini DRS trains of 3 drivers. And now Vivoda may be making another mistake, as Coach is only 7 seconds behind after he needed 2 seconds a lap. Well, how about 7 seconds, gaining it in chunks, and now he just needs to get a move on and gain about a second a lap, just a little over a second a lap. We'll see if he can do that with Vivoda struggling without that half of his wing. Squatch drifting off this battle a bit. Should stay in the DRS. It's going to be very close. Will the DRS open? Now it should. Driver's in front. Yes, and he does get DRS. Looked like he might have slipped out of it for a second, but no, he does not. Lucid does have a full battery in the tank. So does Goat. Not using any of it. And now Hitch within DRS range of Cloud as Yuppie gets by Dismal, and that's the first time all night I think he's been able to actually get by him, as Dismal looks a little shaky out of that exit, and Mel is not going to try anything. He's passed by both drivers in the mini train. Knocks him down into 9th, but Vivoda quite a distance back, and without half a wing, I don't think he's going to be much of a contest to get that extra point. And Coach now 7.5 seconds behind, so maybe a mistake from him. He's running out of laps here to close the gap and snag a point to just be able to contribute to the Alpine team. Hitch been doing a lot of the work and is leading the Constructors' Championship by himself. So a Can-Am Max Verstappen at this point. But Coach been in scoring position before and has just been unlucky this season. So hopefully the tables turn and he's able to snag a point. find a little bit of luck and combine that with the right opportunity and should be able to get a point or two. Is close once again at 6.5 seconds. See Dismal getting by Yuppie again, and Mel maybe looking up the inside, not having the pace to get alongside. And Mel not going to attack out of this corner. The 3 up front here. Squatch a little bit further behind, but should catch up through this sector. Hitch as well, right behind Cloud within the DRS, but Kryptonic still maintaining the gap for the most part. But again, we see another end plate off for Hitch as he rubbed it off on the wall there. Anime 3-second time penalty, but now Hitch without that end plate again, this time not from contact, but just from running a little wide. And now is not going to have the DRS to be able to open, so Cloud may be able to run away, or does he have the DRS? I don't think he did. Cloud going to make that end plate count through Sector 2 where we see a couple turns, but the end plates probably don't matter too much for at least this race. Yuppie back in front of Dismal, and we see them charging into this little chicane. Dismal maybe a little bit of a dummy down to the inside, but sees nothing there and isn't going to be going for a move here. We've only got 2 more laps of racing here. Haven't seen much of the top drivers, as this is quite the view here with Lucid. We might see some risky moves or some desperate moves going into the final couple laps, trying to get the spot. And like I said before, when you're in the DRS in the final lap, you're probably in a better position than just having the places here. So even a driver like Squatch at the back of this train would rather have the DRS and just dump his battery, make sure you get a good exit on the last lap and go for it, versus having to be able to defend down this entire straight, as Goat is going to try to do with Lucid, but Lucid right behind, 2.5 tenths. And honestly, should be able to leapfrog, and I think Goat might even let him. As down the inside goes Lucid. Squatch getting closer and closer. Dismal getting by Yuppie. And yeah, Hitch, able to bridge the gap between him and Cloud, but not able to recover after that wing repair. And pretty much the gap between him and Kryptonic is probably what it cost to him for him to have to repair that wing, probably 4 or 5 seconds. And especially if he's able to nab the DRS, would have been a completely different story for his race. Lucid extending the gap to about a ½ second now. Going into the final lap, Kryptonic starting the final straight and is going to cross the start-finish to start the end of the race, start the final lap. So he crosses that line, and we've got 1 lap to go. Goat going to stay behind Lucid here. And maybe not for long as they're side by side here. Lucid makes up the place, and like I said, maybe the last lap, a little bit of desperation here as Goat, they're going side by side through the first little bit, and Goat's going to have the DRS here, should, in this first sector, and Lucid's going to make him go all the way around the outside, and I don't know if he's going to be able to hold this. Goat is last on the brakes, but now they come together a little bit. Lucid off his line. Now Squatch maybe thought about going down the inside, but does not go for any moves. And Lucid might be looking for a bit of payback. Going to be fighting elbows out this lap. This is the final lap. Goat still has all of his battery, probably using as much deploy as he needs to. Lucid as well with his battery. Squatch with a little less, so not sure if he'll be a factor on this final straight here. Want to perfect your exit. And for these three drivers, we'll see if they mix it up. Kryptonic is coming to the line. He's going to win this race. Cloud behind is going to lose out to Hitch. We've known that result for probably the entire race since the first stop, but Kryptonic does win the race. We are not on board with them. We are watching this battle as Lucid does get the place on Goat, and how much is Goat going to be able to fight this back? He gets a little bit better of an exit, gets a little bit of slipstream, is going through turn one to the line. And just 500 separate him, could not get the position, took the tightest line, but couldn't get the spot as Squatch does finish 6th. Dismal in 7th, holds off Yuppie, but Mel getting 2 points for Red Bull, and Vivoda able to hold Coach off with half his wing remaining in P10, and maybe Coach having a part of his wing off as well. I'm not sure. We'll have to see if we get a good view of it. And yes, looks like Coach is missing an end plate. So both of these drivers fighting for the point weren't necessarily at 100% with their cars. But Vivoda crosses the line to take 10th, and Coach takes 11th place. A lonely race for some drivers, but others in those mini trains fought hard at the end of the race for every position, and good opportunity to score points here for some of the drivers. Hitch with the fastest lap is going to get an extra point, but Kryptonic does keep the penalty gap. If he does get a penalty from the contact with Hitch, he likely will have enough of a gap to maintain the win here. And worst case scenario, I would think, is a 5-second time penalty. Cloud in 3rd after his 3 seconds of multiple warnings. Then it completely drops off to 21 seconds to Lucid, Goat, and Squatch. Finish 4th, 5th, and 6th just off the podium. Dismal in 7th, Yuppie in 8th, Mel in 9th, and Vivoda in 10th. All in the point scoring positions, and you can see everyone. And here is the race director. Bunch of warnings for exceeding track limits. And Cloud with an extra 2 warnings, so we'll probably not likely to see him get those penalties scrubbed. So the finishing order should be relatively the same. And we'll see if the stewards have anything to change or to penalize. So should be interesting, but yeah, quite the snooze of a race. Missing a couple drivers from the grid, and hopefully we get a close to full grid next week when we sprint in Japan. As you can see on the screen, we will have a sprint race there, so a little bit of extra racing, but a beloved track among the F1 community and one of my personal favorites to drive. So should be exciting racing through Japan and definitely a technical track. So hopefully the drivers can enjoy this one a little bit more than Vegas, and hopefully they can enjoy a full grid as well. Again, thank you all for watching. Hopefully I was able to put you to sleep with this Grand Prix, but if not, I appreciate you watching through the entire video, whether it's on Twitch, YouTube, whether you're watching tonight, whether you're watching tomorrow, or whenever I upload this onto YouTube. We appreciate you guys tuning in and keeping up with the league, and hopefully you enjoy the content. I know this one might be a little rough, but next week we should have a banger. We should be back to that Silverstone-esque track, and that was a banger race to commentate. Plenty of action, and maybe, just maybe, we'll see some rain in Japan to maybe spice things up in Tier 1. There's been rain in the other tiers, and those races have been crazy, so maybe it would make a difference, maybe it wouldn't, but we'll see what happens next Wednesday, same place, same time. And be sure to check out the other tiers, check out how their Vegas races went tonight, and also maybe give them a watch in the next couple weeks. Again, any viewership to the league is much appreciated, whether it's Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3, whether it's the official channel or some of the other channels that we stream on. Like I said, anything is appreciated, and we just appreciate you guys tuning into the content and being able to facilitate this great league and to be able to race with all you guys. So we just appreciate it, and hopefully you enjoyed the race this week, and maybe you can put it on and sleep a little easier tonight. So thank you for tuning in tonight, and hopefully you tune in next week. See you then.